Was that super abrupt? How did that sound transition work? I don't know. Did that just sound like crazy abrupt? I don't know how the music stopped playing. I don't know if the lighting's good either. I don't know how I like it. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna scooch over here and do this. Oh, I didn't even notice a difference. All right. Well, I'm glad to see everyone's doing good. Godzilla 154, Childish Landino. I'm glad to see everyone's doing well. Admiral Akbar, Godzilla Fan 2001, Dogura the Space Jellyfish. I am glad to see everybody's doing well. All right. It was so weird the fact that there's a live stream and not a video. I used to stream all the time. Maybe I'll start doing it more over the summer because I like streaming. I just am kind of out of practice at it. Exactly, an uncreative person. Long live the Monsterverse. You're going to be talked about in this video. I hope you know that. I'm calling you out this video, by the way. So you better be ready. All right. Well, I'm going to jump into it here. Let me get this. So, just a quick explanation, or should I just do an intro? I'm so unorganized. I'll do an intro. That's for me in editing. That's so I can line up my mouth with my words. Alright, what's up everybody, man? Back. Welcome to a brand new, this is a live stream. Welcome back to another live stream, and today we're going to be discussing the new Godzilla X Kong teaser because I want to talk about it. I think I want to talk about it live with you guys because I want your guys' theories in the moment. I want to hear what you guys are thinking. Hi D-Man, how are you? Hi Alex, I'm doing well. I'm doing alright. How are you doing? When will G-fans shut up about Space Godzilla? Well, Goji Fan Catzilla, they never will. Never. I don't get it. I don't get it. 10 years ago, Space Godzilla was one of the most hated Toho monsters. 10 years ago, everybody in the fan base trashed on him constantly. And I never understood the hate. And all of a sudden now, everybody loves him. Everybody talks very fondly of him. Everybody wants to see him. And ironically, only because he is being brought back up so often am I starting to go, oh, wait a minute. I think I also hate that monster. I think I also think he's really dumb. And I think I'm now starting to understand what people's issue with him is. I don't really have a big issue with him in the context of Godzilla versus Space Godzilla, but the fact that Godzilla fans truthfully believe that Space Godzilla is a good fit for the Monsterverse and should be a part of it blows my mind. And I mean, not to sound pretentious, although I am a pretentious guy, it makes me very happy that the fans are not in control of this franchise because they clearly don't know what's best for it. And I say that with love, or do I? I don't know. I don't think I do. Fans are crazy, man. The fan base really blows my mind. I don't get it. They never have. I felt like the fan base has never been on the side of the Monsterverse and has always been on the side of themselves and what they want to see. Sorry, that sounds rude, but that's the truth. I believe that Biollante could work in the Monsterverse. Look, I think there's a universe where Space Godzilla can work if you change literally everything about what the character is, what the origins is, what is the character. If you scrap all of it and you go, well, I'm going to do a design that's sort of reminiscent of Space Godzilla and powers that are sort of reminiscent of Space Godzilla, then you can maybe make it work, you know, by making basically a whole new monster with just a name, Space Godzilla, which is also a stupid name. Space Godzilla. Mecha Godzilla is kind of a stupid name, but at least they play it as a joke in Godzilla vs. Kong because it's kind of a dumb name, although I love it. It is really silly. And obviously Space Godzilla is an even stupider name. You know Mecha Godzilla is a stupid name and is silly when even Toho was like, oh, that is a really silly name. Let's just call him Kiryu for the new movies, because why would they call him Mechagodzilla in universe? All people want is fan service. They don't really care about expanding new stories. Exactly. And that is, we'll just jump into it here. That is what I love about this. I love that they are not You're not sounding like the Godzilla fan I knew. I am the biggest Godzilla fan that I could be. And I am also a fan of filmmaking and movies, and so I'm trying to sit on the side of what's best for the Monsterverse as a franchise rather than just what the fans want. Because the fans don't control the box office. The fans are a very small portion of it. The Godzilla franchise has some of the goofiest names of all time. And I'm okay with it in the context of their own stories, but sometimes if we're looking at a universe like the Monsterverse, which although the fans will tell you is not a realistic universe, the fans don't know what they're talking about. Of course it is. It just is. It is a more realistic universe than any of the other Godzilla universes we've had, and it takes itself more seriously and more grounded, and of course in the modern day with modern sensibilities, it takes a long time to get really crazy, zany, goofy, and we're not there yet. We're just not there yet. Anyways, I want to explain this live stream for a minute. It's called Final Thoughts. I'm talking about my final thoughts on the teaser, right? But at the same time, I want to acknowledge here, this isn't the last video I'm going to make on the teaser. What I'm hoping to do is potentially, you know how I do like on Fridays, I try and do, you're sounding like a Snyder fan. No, I'm not. I'm really not. Yeah, whatever. I'm not even going to acknowledge that. What I'm hoping to do is to take potentially segments of this live stream as my Friday videos, you know, the ones where I do an expansion on a discussion that I've previously had. So I'm hoping that Friday videos can be chopped up out of this live stream, and so that will be how this will be my final discussion on it, but I know that not a lot of people are going to watch the live stream, so I'll do a video about, I'll segment this up into videos if I feel it's worthy of it, so that people who don't want to tune into the live stream can still check it out. Also, someday I will talk about this stuff again when I get caught up in news, but I'm so far behind in news. I'm still a year behind in news almost, so I'm not anywhere close to discussing this stuff in my news and updates, or my news roundups, I should call them. Anyways, I want to jump into my discussion thoughts. I came with notes prepared that I want to talk about first, and then we'll get into theories with you guys. So, very first, I just want to say I absolutely love and cannot get enough of how little we know about this movie. When Godzilla 2014 was coming out all the way back in 2014, we knew that Godzilla was going to be in the movie. We knew that it was going to be a big American reboot of Godzilla, and that's it. We knew nothing, man. We knew nothing about the Godzilla 2014 movie. It was a big mystery to us, and that was the most exciting part. There was so much hype and anticipation around just what is this movie? Is Godzilla the villain? What's going on in the film? There's other monsters or the Mutos. The fan base, who was really diving in deep to their viral marketing campaign, was starting to figure out, oh, there's going to be Mutos, there's going to be these weird other monsters, but what are they? You watch the trailer and there's like half-second glimpses and you're like, oh my god, is Godzilla fighting somebody? That was incredible. I loved the feeling of never knowing what the movie we were getting was. And when we got the movie, I personally loved it. And I'm really hoping that what the new Monsterverse marketing team does is something similar to, let's shroud this movie in mystery. Let's give them a refreshing take where we tease stuff, but we don't reveal everything like we do with King of the Monsters, per se. Because that's the other thing. When Kong Skull Island was coming out, I also felt like I knew nothing about that movie. I know Kong's in it. I know he's fighting a skull crawler, whatever that is. We barely knew at the time. We saw glimpses of them in the trailer, but we barely knew what they were. And it was like, what is the plot of this movie? Because back in the day, if you remember from like my All Scenes in Order and stuff, I actually thought the movie's finale was gonna be Kong versus the military, not Kong versus a big skull crawler. And so I think it's really interesting that when Kong Skull Island was coming out, there was also this really high level of ambiguity all the way up until the very last about month before Kong Skull Island came out. They released so many teasers and TV spots and clips all at once that at that point we had a lot of footage. I think we ended something with the marketing campaign. We ended with something like 15 minutes worth of footage at least. And that's too much footage to end with. Too much entirely. Godzilla King of the Monsters, there was a really fantastic teaser trailer that set the world on fire at SDCC 2018 where we were all so excited about what is this movie, and that teaser is beautiful. It reveals so little, But as a fan, you already pretty much know where that movie's headed. Godzilla King of the Monsters is going to be Godzilla, Mothra, and Rodan and King Ghidorah. You know for a fact Godzilla and Mothra are going to team up. I kind of felt like Rodan was going to team up with the two of them because it had happened in previous movies. And then there's King Ghidorah. And we all know that the movie ends with Godzilla defeating King Ghidorah with the help of Mothra at the very least, and we weren't really surprised at the direction that movie took. Then the marketing campaign in trailer 2 reveals Burning Godzilla. It reveals that Rodan is teamed up with Ghidorah, and as we went on, they revealed everything to the point where when I saw King of the Monsters, I was watching a checklist of scenes I had seen in the trailer. If you remember when Godzilla King of the Monsters was coming out in mid-April, I cut myself off of all trailers, all teasers, all clips released, and I still was able to take the footage that I had seen and cut together a 15-minute all scenes in order without the additional stuff that came out between April and May. So then when Godzilla vs. Kong is coming out, we get one teaser that unfortunately shows Mechagodzilla, or the trailer, which was a fantastic trailer, but it showed Mechagodzilla. It showed a little too much, and it also told the story literally chronologically. From start to finish, it told the story chronologically, and there's no ambiguity as to what's happening in Godzilla vs. Kong. Every single person knew that that movie was gonna be Godzilla fights Kong and wins. We all knew that there was going to be 2 rounds, one in the middle and one at the end. We all knew that Godzilla was going to win. We all knew that Mechagodzilla was going to show up. We all knew that Godzilla and Mechagodzilla and Kong were going to fight and that Godzilla and Kong were going to team up. We all knew that they would defeat Mechagodzilla and go their separate ways. We knew the movie before we ever saw it. So now we're in an era where I truly couldn't tell you what's going on in this movie, and that is so exciting. And I really hope they play up the marketing the way they did back in 2014, which is very mysterious, because I'm really worried that they're going to reveal everything the way that they did. The Godzilla vs. Kong marketing was a step in the right direction. The problem was the plot was really obvious. So if this movie doesn't have an obvious plot, and the marketing is done a little more like GVK in 2014, we're in good hands, and I'm super excited. Also, I just want to say, I know that toy companies are going to reveal this stuff, and I know that fans are going to start to leak stuff once they figure it out. Once the world learns what KDM learns, once any fan but KDM learns what KDM learns, it's over for us. It's all done. But anyways, I guess what I'm saying here is I love how little we know, and I think the thing that's helping that the most for me is the fact that it's a brand new Titan. I have no idea who this guy is. I don't know what he does. I don't know what he looks like. Fans are saying, oh, he's going to be a big balding orangutan. Maybe a little bit. I don't think he's balding to the point where I've seen some people online posting pictures of what their fan interpretations of him is, and he's got this giant bald patch running all the way up his head. I don't think it's going to be that exaggerated. That teaser, I know he's looking down and you can see baldness on his head. There's still enough hair there. I'm thinking he's not going to be as bald as people are thinking, but that's the good thing, is like, I don't even know what he looks like. There's so much mystery as to what is this guy. People saying, oh, I think it's just an orangutan. I don't believe it's just an orangutan. I think it's going to be some mutated mix between an orangutan and a Kong and a whatever. You know, Kong isn't a gorilla. Kong doesn't look like any animal on the planet. He looks vaguely like a gorilla and vaguely like a chimpanzee, but Kong doesn't look anything like a gorilla. Not in reality. So what I'm expecting is this orangutan kaiju isn't going to either. Thank you so much, Bo's Backyard BBQing. I hope you do a lot of BBQing. I hope you have a great time doing it. Thank you so much for the donation. I really appreciate that. He says, just wanted to say hi. Thanks for the cool videos. Thank you so much, man. That really means a lot to me. Hello to you too. I hope you're having a great day, and I hope you have a fantastic week ahead of you. So I'm going to say, big orangutan monster, I'm not expecting it to be as exaggerated as people are thinking with the baldness, but I am also not expecting it to be just a straight up, what if orangutan was a kaiju? I'm thinking it's going to be something different. I think it's going to have red fur. I actually think, personally, the design is going to be something a little more like King Kong 62, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But that's what I'm expecting. And I love that I don't know anything. I love that KDM says this guy's not just an orangutan. He's got powers of his own. And I have no idea what they are. And I hope I don't learn what they are before the movie. And here's the big takeaway is, if this was just another Toho monster like people want it to be, like Space Godzilla, we know how that fight goes. Space Godzilla is going to do a big crystal. He's going to do a big beam out of his mouth, and he's going to levitate some stuff. Who cares? We've already seen it. I love that we're getting something new. I love that we're getting something we can't predict. If you tell me Godzilla's fighting Mechagodzilla, I've seen that fight 5 times. I know how it's going to go. If you tell me Godzilla's fighting a brand new monster, well, I couldn't begin to tell you how that fight's going to go. And that's why I'm so excited that we're not getting another Toho monster. And if you remember, ever since 2018, I have been begging for the Monsterverse to just do its own thing, to stop being a Toho adaptation, to find its own identity, and to bring us new monsters. And I'm so excited to see what these new monsters are, and I love that they are doing it. The Warbats are incredible. The Warbats are some of my favorite kaiju we've seen in a long time, and I personally love the Mutos and Skullcrawlers as well. So I'm so excited to see new monsters do new things that we can't begin to predict. And someday down the line, I bet you Toho, if these movies are popular enough, Toho will be like, we could throw a Muto in there. Maybe they won't because they kind of have a stigma against American Godzilla, but 20 years, 30 years down the line, Toho might begin to adapt our monsters. How cool would that be? I got another one from the Amazing Webhead. Thank you so much, the Amazing Webhead. Spidey D-Man right here to send some love back. The Monsterverse is my dad's MCU. Watched all 4 with me. That is awesome. See, that's another great thing about the Monsterverse is it's got a totally different market than something like, say, the MCU, which is very superheroes, very mainstream. The Monsterverse is a pretty niche thing that is providing a very specific service. And I hate when people compare box offices between MCU and Godzilla, because Godzilla is never supposed to perform on the level of the MCU. It's completely fine for a Godzilla movie to perform in the 400 millions. That's a good number. Those movies are never meant to make $1 billion. They're not billion-dollar pictures. They're not as mass appeal as something like the MCU, even though the MCU is having a lot of trouble right now. You got to remember that there's a different market for these movies and that they need to be compared to themselves. So that's why we're getting more. People are like, why would they even make more after King of the Monsters performs in the 300 millions? Why is the Monsterverse continuing? It's because the 300 millions it would be a bomb for the MCU. If the MCU performed in the 300 millions, that movie would be a bomb. If Godzilla King of the Monsters performs in the 300 millions, it's certainly a bit of a dark spot on their reputation, but it's not an end of the world situation. That's still a decent performance for a Godzilla film's box office, and that's why, as if you remember back in the day, I told you Legendary and Toho were not surprised by the box office results of those movies. But I'm just very glad that we have a different market to satisfy people like us who are looking for different content than just the standard superhero formula. People hoping for a big twist villain are the ones who are boring as fuck. I hope he's the only big bad in the film. If they play it well, it should be the most interesting Monsterverse film so far. I don't think that people hoping for another villain is boring, but I would say I personally don't think it's going to be a Toho monster involved. I think this is the big bad villain, and he will have other minions that he can send into battle. That's been my theory from the start. Okay, this is from Godzilla CH4V3Z 1954. Thank you so much for the celebration. Whoa, a super chat celebration. I've never seen that before. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I don't even know what that is, but that's awesome. Thank you. This one is from Bo's Backyard BBQing. Do you think it will have a beam weapon? Thank you again for the donation. I'm not expecting a beam weapon. I don't think we'll get a beam weapon, personally. I don't think he's going to shoot a laser like a lot of people are thinking. I like the idea that he's got lightning fists like King Kong from 1962, but King Kong from 1962 also couldn't shoot lightning out of his fingertips like the Emperor from Star Wars. Maybe, of course, this movie being called The New Empire and people calling him Emperor Kong. Maybe he can. I wouldn't get your hopes up for it. I don't think he's going to be shooting lightning. I think he could, if he has lightning powers, I think he'll do a big lightning punch. But I don't think he's going to be shooting beams. I think that would be a little ridiculous. All right, we have some more. I don't understand what I'm seeing going on here. I'm seeing Bobby Reynolds. Thank you so much for the donation. I can't read your message. I'm sorry you retracted your message. I'm seeing it says you sent your message like 100 times, but I can't. I only see it once in the chat, but it popped up on my top a lot. But I only see the one. But thank you so much for the donation. I really appreciate it. Okay. My next topic. Or do you guys have any thoughts on how little we know? Do you guys have any other thoughts on that you want to talk about before I get into the next thing? I hope there's no beam weapon. I think lightning in 62 is most what we'll get. I think that's also seemingly what I would think. Something like Mechagodzilla with those power punches. Yeah, that's a pretty good idea too. Mechagodzilla had, of course, the energy punch that he could do that could literally light up your body and show your skeleton, which was freaking awesome to see. Something like that would be really cool to see Kong do. or this new enemy do, I should say. Of course, it's not a Kong, but I'm going to call him Kong until we have a name for him. All right, thank you very much, Bobby Reynolds. I now see your message. Thank you for the donation. He says, I'm excited to see Godzilla Braun Strowman X Kong Terry Tate. Braun Strowman. I don't know who Braun Strowman is. X Terry Tate with the office backer. The new Empire with the most. Hold on. I'm going to have to sorry. I am dyslexic, so I'm going to have to take a minute to read this comment. The office back. OMOS. I don't think I actually understand that message is the problem. Maybe it just is. Braun Strowman is a wrestler. Okay, I see. Oh, I see. You're comparing it to wrestling. I see. Braun Strowman, I'm assuming, is a big buff guy, and then I would guess Terry Tate is a smaller fighter, or the office backer. Office backer, the new Empire. I don't understand that comment. I don't think my brain's big enough. Is an office backer like another sports term? Well, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. What if they show Mecha Ghidorah in the end credits? I don't like the idea of Mecha Ghidorah. I actually don't like Mecha Ghidorah even in the 90s movie. I think he's silly even in that film, so I'm not in need of that at all. Also, we don't have anything left of Ghidorah. They have dismantled his head and turned him into Mechagodzilla, so what are we going to build a Mecha Ghidorah out of? It would be a 100% mechanized creature at that point. It wouldn't even be the same character. Okay, the next theory I wanted to talk about, this comes from my YouTube comment sections. I really like that people pointed out. I really like that people pointed out how purple is the color of royalty, and that maybe the reason they're going with purple for the title card for this movie is because the new emperor is a very royal figure, and so they're doing a purple scheme for that. I really like that idea. I think that's really interesting. Mr. L, thank you very much for the donation. He says, every time the Monsterverse introduces a new kaiju, the fan base tries to make it out as a Toho monster, no matter how little resemblance they have. Yes, they completely do. I remember going crazy back in the King of the Monsters days, being like, how on earth are people expecting that this Titan that's coming up out of the ground to be Kumonga? Why would the Monsterverse shell out money for Kumonga? Why would they not just make a big spider of their own, and then they made something far more interesting than a big spider? I don't understand why every time a monster is coming out, people have to assume it's a Toho monster. I get that it'd be cool to see Toho monsters with modern CGI, but Toho's still making movies with modern CGI, guys. Toho can do their own. Remember when people thought the male Muto was Rodan? I sure do. That's funny. They really have been doing this since the very beginning. That's really goofy. My favorite theory that I have heard so much, which is freaking crazy that people are actually sharing this theory online, is what if the Titan in the trailer is Mechanicong? Mechanicong? First of all, they don't own the rights to Mechanicong. I actually don't know who owns the rights to Mechanicong. I don't even know if Toho owns the rights to Mechanicong. That was a Rankin Bass creation that Toho used. But oh my god, I couldn't believe that I saw not just one comment about Mechanicong. I saw many comments about Mechanicong, and the evidence, which is irrefutable by the way, is that his eyes light up. I feel like that those comments have to be trolling or parodying the whole Mechagodzilla or Godzilla's Mechagodzilla in disguise on the aircraft carrier. I'm assuming that it just is a big joke, but how do people believe it's Kong? Along that line, no offense to the hundreds of people who commented this over the last few days, but what world are you living in where this is King Caesar? It doesn't look anything like King Caesar. King Caesar is a lion, not a gorilla. King Caesar has a big little thing on his head. A big little thing. You heard it here first. He's got big floppy ears. He's got a big lion mane. He's got a big tail with a big poof on the end. What world are you living in that this is King Caesar? That is, I love the enthusiasm, and I think it's really hilarious. And King Caesar is actually a monster that you guys have sold me on in the past. I'm all for King Caesar in the Monsterverse. I'm totally okay with that in another movie, a solo Kong movie. I think it could be a really interesting fight between Kong and King Caesar. But, oh my God, how do you think that the one in this teaser is King Caesar? It looks nothing like him. If it looked like him, then maybe we could have this discussion. And I would tell you it's not. But still, we could entertain it. But, oh my God, it looks nothing like him. But I like the enthusiasm for a pretty obscure character. Yeah, Godzilla before. It's King Louie. That joke was funny for the first day. And when people still spam my comments about how it's King Louie, now it's pretty old. Well, Methyl Kaiju fan, you're missing the point. It's Kong down in the Hollow Earth because Apex, Maya Simmons went into the Hollow Earth and Apex has already been there. They've already staked their claim, is I guess what I'm saying. Apex built their new headquarters in the Hollow Earth so that Godzilla couldn't blow it up. That's confirmed. You heard it here first. So basically, I worked on the movie, and Apex does that because of the Godzilla situation in Godzilla vs. Kong. They need to go somewhere more obscure, so they go into the Hollow Earth to build their. They build the new headquarters in the Hollow Earth because Kong is going to leave them alone, and Godzilla doesn't really go down there, and that's where they built Kong as a way to dethrone Kong so that they could rule the Hollow Earth. I worked on the movie, trust me. Also, Odaku's in the movie, and he's a big villain. You can believe it. Thank you very much, Bobby Reynolds. I really appreciate it. Oh, he's here to clarify. Thank you so much. Braun Strowman and OMOS are WWE wrestlers, two big guys. Braun is 6'8". Oh my God. And OMOS is 7'3". And Terry Tate and Terrible Terry Tate, I love that name, is a football player that worked at an office building where he attacked people that aren't working. Okay, let me go reread your comment with that new context, if I can. Where is that old comment? I'm excited to see Godzilla Braun Strowman and Kong/Terry Tate, the office backer, the new Empire, with the new monster OMOS. Okay, I see. So you're saying you're excited to see the two big guys go up against this incredibly overly large big guy. Okay, I got you. I appreciate it. Thank you for the clarification. Thank you so much for the support on the channel. I really appreciate it. Sorry to spoil so much of Godzilla vs. Kong, by the way, or of Godzilla X Kong. I didn't mean to spoil the big twist that Odaku's in it and that Kong was built down in the Hollow Earth. But honestly, at this point, I kind of have to. My hands are tied. It was just being I was pressured into it. So Godzilla couldn't blow it up. Yeah, I forget that Godzilla can blow a hole to the center of the earth, and I hope that Adam Wingard does too, because I never want to see him do it again. Yeah, it was revealed to me in a dream. It was. And that dream was my dream of working on a Monsterverse set, and you can't take it away from me. It's clearly a 300-foot Frankenstein. Naturally, of course, which is actually, ironically, the next theory. I've seen a ton online. Is this a Gargantua? People thinking, is this new monster one of the Gargantuas? Of course, two of Toho's very popular non-Godzilla characters. Is this new monster a Gargantua? Get it out of your head that it's a Toho monster. First and foremost, get it out of your head. But I do think people are onto something here where I personally believe the fight between Kong and the Predator Kong, I believe the fight between the two of them is gonna mirror. It'll mirror or maybe even be a reference to War of the Gargantuas, because that movie's pretty popular. Michael Dougherty was, of course, a huge fan of it. I'd be surprised if Wingard wasn't aware of it. And you're going to have two giant ape-like monsters fight and not reference that movie? That seems like you're missing an opportunity. So I think we will see the two of them fight, and I think it will mirror War of the Gargantuas. And I think it will be a reference, but not, I don't think it's a Gargantua in the movie. Although I would love to see the Gargantuas return. And actually, the Gargantuas, if you change their origins and make them bioweapons, they work in the Monsterverse so perfectly. So many of the creatives in the Monsterverse want them in the Monsterverse, and I'm on that team. Gojira CH4, that's what I'll call you. Gojira CH4, thank you very much for D-Man should have a cameo in the Monsterverse. I completely agree. D-Man should have a cameo in this movie. I feel like somebody made a poll of that back when Godzilla vs. You remember when there was that poll, get D-Man and Godzilla vs. Kong? Or was it a poll? What do we call it? Like a petition? I think somebody already was on it and made a petition to be like, get D-Man in whatever comes after Godzilla vs. Kong. And if that petition exists, we should all sign it. Kong will be with Green Moss and GXK. Yeah. But you say that as a joke, but you could develop that in a future movie, and maybe they do genetically engineer a Kong clone that comes out to be like a Gargantua styled monster. Is Michael Dougherty going to help with this one? I have not heard any news about Michael Dougherty helping with this movie at all. KDM said to expect the unexpected. Would it be too far of a stretch if the new if the new Kong had a giant gun? Bonk, I actually was going to make the same joke. Do you remember back when Godzilla vs. Kong was coming out, there was a trend on Twitter that was artists drawing King Kong with a shotgun? I was going to make the joke on Twitter that the way that they defeat the new Titan is that King Kong gets a shotgun. But I didn't tweet it because I couldn't remember any of the artists' names who drew the pictures, so I didn't want to tweet it. Saturn Dusk, thank you very much for the support, man. It's good to see you here. I hope you're having a great day. What is most likely to happen first in the Monsterverse? Another Mecha Titan or a different Toho Kaiju? And why will it be Biollante? I think you're already on the right track here. I think personally we will see another. I don't think we're going to see another mech in the Monsterverse. I think we'll see big weapons. I think maybe we could see masers down the line. I don't think we're ever going to see another mech in the Monsterverse. I do believe we will see more Toho Kaiju at some point, though. I think it would be really hard for the creatives not to bring in more Toho Kaiju. You know, with the two big monkeys, the potential of the Hollow Earth banana is more likely. And I will say, I don't want to brag too much. Adam Wingard and I used to talk, and I sent him my pitch for the big Hollow Earth banana directly before Godzilla X Kong started development, and he said that was such a funny idea that he might have to use it. So you've heard it here first. That's also not a joke. I'm not making that up. He said that was a really funny idea, and he thought it was so goofy that it would be goofy in a movie too. And so if we see a Hollow Earth banana, I am going to take full credit for it. I'd pay to see a movie where Mecha D-Man shows up. I think you'd have to do a couple movies to set up D-Man first. I'd give him 7 or 8 origin films, and then I might bring in Mecha D-Man, because Mecha D-Man is a bit more of an obscure character. All right, next theory that I really like. Is this Kong based on the 1962 King Kong? And I think that there is actually a huge possibility for this Kong to be based on the 1962 King Kong. I think that his design-wise could be. I think his powers could be. And I personally believe that that is a very likely scenario. He's got the big lanky arms. He's got the red fur. I know he's more orangutan-based, but that King Kong 1962 was not very gorilla-based. He was based on Japanese monkeys. And I think that surely the people who designed him may have referenced the 1962 Kong. And if he does have lightning powers, he's for sure going to be a reference to that guy, because that guy already had them. And of course he would. So I think it could be interesting. The other theory that I really liked is, what if he isn't based on an orangutan per se, but instead, and I'm going to mispronounce this name, is it Giantopithecus? Giantopithecus? The big giant orangutans from prehistoric history that in real life were the largest apes to ever walk the earth. They were about 9 feet tall. What if the new Kong isn't based on a modern-day orangutan, but more of those prehistoric orangutans, the Giantopithecus? Is that the Giantopithecus? Is that his name? That's a super interesting idea. I love that theory, and I think you're probably onto something. That was one of the comments that I got that I thought, oh, that person's probably onto something. That's a really good suggestion. Oh, I said something about my purple sunglasses. Mecha Demon with the purple sunglasses. I don't actually know where the purple sunglasses have wound up these days. Obviously I'm in a new place, so those are in my old room, and I don't know where they are. They're somewhere in there, but I'd have to dig for them. I hope he shares the powers and then those pass down to Kong later on. I think it could entirely be possible. Oh, Bobby Reynolds, thank you very much for the donation. He says, I retracted the first one because when I sent the super chats, 2 more popped up on the chat bar on the time, and I don't know if it's part of a glitch or something. Bobby, I think it is part of a glitch because every time you send me a donation, or anybody actually, like when Saturn Dusk did it, anytime anybody super chats, I see it pop up 4 to 5 times each. So I think it's just a weird glitch that's happening with YouTube right now. Wouldn't it be gnarly if this Predator Kong was an outcast of the species and ate other Kongs similar to chimpanzees who eat monkeys? So we're going to talk about that as well. Let me run through some of my theories first here, and then I'll get into your guys' comments. I actually also can't stay on too much longer, so I'm going to try and start speeding up my ideas here. But here's my ideas. You guys got to tell me. Is it a stupid idea if is it a stupid idea if the Predator Kong was dormant in some sort of prison that was made for the Titans? I don't know if this is a stupid idea, but just go down the thought with me. What if this Kong was dormant because he was locked in some sort of prisons made by the Kongs during the Great War? The Kong species built a prison to lock up this guy because he was such a dangerous threat. And now maybe if we also involve Zozala Halawa, maybe Zozala Halawa was also imprisoned. Now in the modern day, they're released. So back in the day, the Godzillas potentially also, and the Kongs locked up their biggest, most dangerous, threatening members of their species or of offshoots of their species, like how this Kong seems to be an offshoot of the King Kong we know. And of course, the giant Godzilla skull from Godzilla vs. Kong that the axe was lodged in appears to be a bit of an offshoot of the Godzilla we know as well. So what if these are two sort of similar members of these species that look a little different? They're huge, they're bigger, and there's something weird about them. What if they were imprisoned by the Godzillas and the Kongs during the Great War, and the nuclear blast from Godzilla vs. Kong, the one that destroys the throne room, maybe that freed him. Maybe he was in some part of that we didn't know about, some deep tunnel in there. Maybe Godzilla blowing a hole into the bottom of the earth frees him. Or them, if they're both involved. I think that could be really, really interesting. I've seen other theories saying, did Kong activating the axe wake him up? And I would not totally know if that seems legit. I know Godzilla sensed it from all the way up on the top of the surface world, but that's kind of Godzilla's deal. He kind of can sense that stuff. I would be surprised if they did it in a way where it was revealed that Kong placing the axe down woke him up, because Godzilla blasts a hole into the center of the earth, and that seems far more likely to wake you up than an axe being placed on the ground. That's my thought. And are this Kong's glowing eyes because he was hibernating deep within the Hollow Earth, specifically in the Kong Temple where we learned that the energy core is located? The Kongs draw energy up from the ground into their axes. Remember, they say that is the source of the Hollow Earth energy, is that Kong Temple. What if this Kong has been locked in that temple so long that Hollow Earth energy has mutated him into something else? I think that'd be really, really cool. And the other question that I've seen posed that I think is incredible, this was posed by Predzilla 2000 in my comment section. I think this is such an incredible pitch. This Predator Kong, has he been stalking Godzilla and Kong for the last 5 years in order to learn how they work and operate before striking? Of course, he would have been awakened theoretically during the events of Godzilla vs. Kong. Godzilla and Kong, well, for sure Kong, maybe Godzilla, but Kong for sure has spent the bulk of his time in the Hollow Earth since the events of Godzilla vs. Kong. He has been down there the whole time. What if, in this scenario, this Kong for the last 5 years has been stalking them, and that's the reason we haven't heard from him? I think it could also just be revealed in this movie he's just been in a cave, and he's just been living in a cave the whole time. But I like the idea that because they do this 5-year time skip for a reason that I'll never fully understand, what if this 5-year time skip is done here And the reason it's done is so that this Kong could have time in universe to stock the Godzilla and Kong that we know in order to learn how they operate. So then he can send threats up to the main world to fight Godzilla and take on Kong more effectively down below. I love that idea. I think it's so cool. All right, the Amazing Webhead. Thank you very much for the donation. You said, I think GVK did a good setup for the Monsterverse to take GForce. Sorry. Godzilla vs. Kong. Take of GForce opposed to Monarch, where they make lasers, biotech to go against Godzilla after his round. Okay, I see. So you're saying you think after Godzilla vs. Kong, they've done a good job setting up GForce, as opposed to Monarch, in order to use masers or biotech to go against Godzilla. That makes sense to me. Apex already had weapons that were able to harm Godzilla, so it makes sense to me that a G-Force, or I actually think probably G-Team, which many people forget is not part of Monarch. G-Team is not Monarch. G-Team is a separate organization that works with Monarch. They are not Monarch. I think a lot of people forget that, but G-Team in the Monsterverse, I would think is more likely, would have new weapons that is able to compete with Godzilla, or at least do some damage on him and deter him. Because, of course, Apex was able to build weapons that were able to not only Mechagodzilla could have killed Godzilla, but just in general, their missiles and stuff were able to hurt Godzilla already. All right, Aaron. Aaron, thank you very much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. He says, what would you like as a third-party enemy? I don't want it to be a big bad. I don't need anything to distract from Godzilla and Kong and this new monster, but I would like to see some sub-monsters like Behemoth, Scylla, Methuselah. I'm not saying those monsters in particular. I'm saying brand new ones made for this movie, like Warbats, Skullcrawlers, those type of lower tier monsters. I would like to see more of those guys go up against Godzilla early in the movie, and then this Kong, this new predator, to be the big bad threat of the film. Let's see. I didn't actually see your guys' reactions to my theory. Wait, so Godzilla X Kong takes place in 2030? Godzilla versus Kong takes place in 2024. So this new movie takes place in 2029. Because it's a time skip. I don't know why it's a time skip, but it is a time skip. Let's see. What do you guys think of that theory? I'm seeing memes. Sounds interesting. Do you guys like that theory? I don't know if you guys like that theory. I think the hunting theory is a really cool one. I think the idea that this Kong was in prison is a really cool idea. I don't know if it's too advanced for the Kongs to be able to build a prison, but I think it's an interesting idea. And I like the idea that the nuclear blast will come up, and maybe that there's a Zozula Halawa who's also been locked up, because I think that's also really cool. I also hate time skips. I also am not a fan of them, but I would say at the very least the time skips give us an opportunity to have things like the Monarch TV show, which fill in the gap and provide more Godzilla content more of the year than if they just did a movie. So at the very least we are still getting something out of it that I really appreciate. I've seen some people like it, which is good. I like the theory a lot. I think it's a really cool theory. What are your thoughts on Orga making an appearance? I know it's not canon. I don't need Orga. I don't care about Orga. Toho also doesn't even care enough about Orga to name him in the movie. So I don't think we're going to see Orga again. Here's let me read some more chats and then I'll get into the next theory. I think it's really interesting. It would explain why he wasn't awoken or at least become active in King of the Monsters. That's true as well. Like, why wasn't he involved in that movie if he is such a big threat? Unless he just doesn't care about being the alpha, and so Ghidorah calling to him would mean nothing to him. Would you like a flashback to the Great War between Kong and Godzilla, or would you hate it? I would like to see sparing flashbacks. I wouldn't like to see a full sequence set in the past, but I would like to see small moments, like maybe over the course of the film we get a total of 3 to 5 minutes worth of flashbacks. That's fine, just as long as they're done in small moments, I think would be really cool. Oscar Hernandez, thank you very much for the donation. What a nice it's so nice to see you back again. Oscar Hernandez is one of my very first subscribers that I've ever had, and I am so thankful that he's stuck around all these years. It really means a lot to me. Thank you so much for the super chat. He says, Just showing some love from day one, D-Man 1954. I just wonder what direction is Toho taking Godzilla after Shin Godzilla. Thank you so much for the comment. I believe Toho is doing a brand new continuity. They're doing their own movie. It will come out later this year. And if I'm not mistaken, it takes place in the early to mid 1940s and is a brand new story. So that's what they're doing. I don't think they're doing a Shin Godzilla 2. I would be surprised if they didn't do a Shin Ultraman 2 and a Shin Kamen Rider 2, but I don't think we're getting a Shin Godzilla 2. Oscar Hernandez is the OG. I remember one of my very first videos being on Godzilla. One of my very first Godzilla discussion topics was, who am I more of a fan of, King Kong or Godzilla? And I believe in the video I was more of a fan of Godzilla, but I said that tends to change depending on whose movie is coming out. And that was a suggestion from Oscar Hernandez. Unless I'm totally off basis and I misremember that, I know I dedicated a video to Oscar Hernandez. I'll figure out which one it was. Ignore me, I'm about to start talking. I'm about to say, in a world. Oh, I didn't do it this time. Nice. Sorry, I opened up my channel. Yes. Who do you like more? Who do you think is better? Oscar Hernandez video. That is a video from 2016, June 2016. Okay. Now on to my next theories, because I got to get going here. This is another theory I think is really interesting. Maybe this new Titan is against Kong because Kong sided with Godzilla during Godzilla vs. Kong, saving him at the end of the movie. Therefore, Kong is the one who abandoned his kind. Let me reword that. I'm going to give that another take. Maybe this new Titan is against Kong because Kong sided with Godzilla at the end of Godzilla vs. Kong. Thus, he abandoned his own species. King Kong is the one who abandoned his kind, and this Kong isn't a traitor to the Kong species, which now he views Kong as a traitor, and that's why he's going against him. So now he would be against Godzilla and Kong. I think if this Kong is going to be involved in the Great Titan War, if he is going to be a big player in it, of course, the movie being called Origins, I think we're going to get a lot of play in the Great Titan War. If this Kong is going to be involved with that, this is a pretty strong motivation for him that the audience can be like, ooh, well, we understand why Kong saved Godzilla. We as an audience understand Godzilla's importance, but this guy from this old, ancient, forgotten war, he, of course, would still be hanging on to this grudge the same way that Godzilla was hanging on to the grudge in Godzilla vs. Kong. Kong wasn't born during the Great Titan War. Kong had nothing to do with it. He wasn't interested in Godzilla at all. He didn't want to become the king of the monsters, and Godzilla came after him as a part of some old vendetta that Godzilla was still hanging on to. So if the new Kong down in the Hollow Earth has this same vendetta and he goes against Kong as well because Kong betrayed him and went and saved Godzilla, could be really interesting. The way you'd have to prove that is Godzilla and Kong would have to be in the movie again, and Kong would have to help Godzilla again in front of this other Kong, because really, how would he know about the Mechagodzilla thing? But if he sees Godzilla and Kong have a positive interaction, now he remembers all of the times that Godzillas have killed his species. Maybe he even remembers a time that particular Godzilla killed a member of his family. Now we understand why he wants Godzilla dead. We also understand why Godzilla would have probably had to do that back during the war. We understand Godzilla's importance, so we're on Godzilla's side already. And now we're in this weird place where, again, we're putting Kong in this moral dilemma that he has no idea how to deal with. That would be really interesting. You like the Kong moral dilemma theory? That's personally my favorite theory I've pitched. I really like my Kong moral dilemma theory, and I really hope they go with it. It's going to be a flashback to that new big ape thinking he's the last of his kind, sitting there as he dies alone. Oh, you think there is going to be a flashback as he dies? I think he will be a little sad at the start of the movie. Or actually, you know what? Based on that teaser, he's killed so many Titans, I don't think he's going to have any remorse. I think he's going to be just a pure evil jerk. What if we get if we do get a flashback, I hope that they use the 2014 design at the very least for continuity's sake. Oh, that's a really good point. I didn't even think about that. They'd have to use some design similar to the 2014 design, even a less evolved version of that 2014 design. That's a great point. And now you've got me nervous because I know they're not going to do that. So now you've got me nervous. I too hope we see the old Godzilla design. You like the old Left Behind Kong theory? I like that theory too. I think it's going to be interesting to see how they interact together. What if the new Kong actually killed the Godzilla that had Kong's axe in it, and Kong's axe was actually the new Kong's axe in the first place? So that's a theory I talked about in my last video that I think holds some weight. What if this new Kong is the one who forged the axes, the Predator? We'll call him the Predator in this video. What if the Predator is the one who forged the axes, and Kong takes the axe and it's actually his scepter? Like Adam Wingard said, it's the scepter of the king. It is the noble axe of the king. What if this guy is the king? Kong is using his weapon and he's like, give that back to me and give me my title back. That's another interesting theory. And I do like the idea that this Kong being so enormous, or the Predator being so enormous, because KDM has of course teased that he's the biggest of them. What if he is the one who was able to take down that giant Godzilla, Earth-sized Godzilla who was in the Hollow Earth? I think that makes a lot of sense. Given that we didn't even get the 2014 in the opening for King of the Monsters, I'm really worried. I'm guessing it comes down to the design they used for the Apple show. I think the Apple TV Plus show is going with something more similar to the 2014 design, but they're having to remake it. They're not able to reuse the old assets. I do know that. So I think they're going to try their best. And I agree. Godzilla King of the Monsters used some weird hybrid design between 2014 and 2019, where the dorsal spines are very 2019, but they're still not the defined 2019 spines we know. And it didn't work for me. It took me out of the film. It was a very jarring flashback for that reason. And I really hope that if they do flashbacks, you bring up a great point. We gotta see that old design back. Did Kong even keep the axe? He might have left it in Hong Kong. My interpretation of the ending is Kong sets it down out of respect, knowing that Godzilla doesn't like it, to signal to Godzilla it's not going to be his primary weapon. But I do think he probably took it back with him to the Hollow Earth. And even if he didn't, now it's in the hands of some humans, which would give this Titan, this new Predator, a reason to go against humanity because he wants his axe back. Meanwhile, Kong's down there in the Hollow Earth with just 100 other axes. There was tons of axes in the throne room. Kong can go pick up any number of them. He could be dual-wielding axes in the next movie for all we know. But I think the axe is so popular that we are going to see it back. I think Kong is going to use it again. Okay, next theory. And I do have to leave very soon. Oh, that last theory, by the way, the theory about Godzilla abandoning his kind, or Kong abandoning his kind, that theory comes to us from Louis Eastwood, which is a cool name. Okay, is this Titan, this is the big theory I've been seeing, and I'll try and bring these theories into one here. So let me run through this all. What if this new Predator down there in the Hollow Earth is eating other Titans to gain their power? He is mutated by Hollow Earth energy, or he's mutated by the fact that he's been eating other Titans. This was first pitched to me by a uncreative person, but I've seen this theory echoed by so many people. What if this guy what if this new Titan, this new Predator, as I call him, has been harvesting and eating other Titans, and that's where he gets his power from? I don't think that's where he gets his power from, because Adam Wingard and Michael Dougherty have confirmed the reason Kong had such a big growth spurt. Actually, wait a minute. Hold on. Let me say this out loud, because now that I'm saying it out loud, I might be proving myself wrong. Adam Wingard and Michael Dougherty have both confirmed, where did Kong get so big? Remember when that was a big debate? How is Kong going to be as big as Godzilla? Michael Dougherty confirmed the reason Kong gets so big is because he eats other Titans. We, of course, see him eat the Mere Squid in Kong Skull Island. He presumably eats the Skullcrawler after he kills it. He for sure eats the Warbats. We know Kong eats other Titans. Both Michael Dougherty and Adam Wingard have said Kong eats other Titans, and that's where he gets his power. That's where he got so big from. He absorbs the Titan radiation through them. That's his food source. And now I'm thinking that makes sense. If we're following down that line, Kong eats Titans that would make sense for him to eat. He eats like a Warbat, or like a squid. But what if he were to eat Godzillas? Would he gain some of their abilities? Would their abilities wear off on him? I don't know if they'd wear off on him, but I think they would have some sort of mutated effect on him. That's such a good idea. That is a really interesting theory, and I love that. I don't think he should be shooting atomic breath. Again, I think that's a really stupid idea. But we see him sitting in a boneyard of corpses. What if the reason he's in a boneyard is because he eats them? Yeah, Kong should have wings because he eats the warbats. See, I don't think it's going to be like a physical mutation where, oh, if you eat part of a Godzilla, you grow spines like Godzilla. I think it's going to be like, oh, if you eat part of a Godzilla, it's gonna have some effect on you and turn you into a mutant freak, which is why I think he's gonna be so powerful, is because he's a mutant freak. Maybe this is where he gets the electric hands from. The warbats were supposed to have electric tail whips in the movie. Maybe they could have them in the next film. And in the next film, we are just explained that, oh, the warbat tail whip, if you eat enough warbats, you get electric powers. That kind of stupid in my opinion. I like the idea that it's like a really Cronenbergy mutated thing going on, but still an interesting idea that this mutation occurs that causes this new Kong to wind up the way he is. Do you think this is from Spencer Melee. Hello, Spencer. I like to see you here again. Do you think that Godzilla and Kong will have some sort of confrontation before they team up? I don't think they're going to fight at all in this movie. I think they're going to be on the same side the whole time. But I do think they'll probably cross paths before they team up, yes. Okay, and here's continuing down that theory. Sean Kelly on Twitter. Sean Kelly on Twitter discovered that if you speed up the teaser trailer, you hear it basically goes hunger, or people have maybe heard it say like conquer, which is interesting. It's an interesting idea that maybe the chanting in the teaser is saying hunger because this Kong has like an unquenchable hunger and this thirst to kill and devour, and that's where he gets his power from. Or if he's saying conquer, it's because he wants to become the king, which I hear hunger, I don't hear conquer. And I've also heard people arguing, classic garage door you're hearing. I really like the idea. I really like the idea that he's an old cannibal Kong, as people call him. Maybe he eats other Kongs. I like the idea that maybe you're hearing it say hunger in the teaser. And I've heard people complain and be like, KDM says it's not the Titan making that noise. The Titan isn't speaking. No kidding, the Titan isn't speaking. It doesn't sound like the Titan's speaking. Sounds to me like chanting. And we know that there are, according to the Godzilla vs. Kong novelization, the Iwi come from the Hollow Earth. I'm expecting Iwi to be in the Hollow Earth in this movie. I'm expecting to be worshippers of this new Kong, which KDM has confirmed that if you listen to the beginning of the teaser, you can hear people praying to their god. So I'm thinking there are Iwi in the Hollow Earth, and that this Kong is being prayed to, and maybe they're saying hunger because they know this guy's got this hunger to eat other monsters, or this hunger to kill. I think it's a really interesting theory. Other theories I've heard is that maybe they're saying like ooh, gah. Like maybe I don't know. I've heard people say it sounds like ooga. I don't think they're saying ooga, but if they're saying oh, like they're praying oh to their god, and maybe the god's name is Ga. Ga, of course, is a familiar name to the King Kong franchise. That is the name of Kong's original rival on Skull Island back in the expanded material to the 1933 film. I believe it was from the Return to Skull Island or Skull Island, the Skull Island Kong or whatever that book was. Remember the book that Kong Skull Island kind of has a similar name to? I believe that book is the one where Ga first appears. He's like a big kind of dinosaur-esque monster who is killing the Kongs, and King Kong is the one who's crowned king because he's the one who takes him down, and that's where he gets the name from. And Ga is actually the one that the original Skull Islanders built the wall to keep out. You could just take the name and just adapt this new monster to be this new Ga, a new version of Ga. I don't think they are, but it's just an interesting idea. Another idea that I've heard is that maybe this new monster down there is a cloned human hybrid. Like, not that it's a human monster hybrid, but that humanity has cloned a Kong and created this hybrid abomination. And I don't think they're going that direction. I think that would be something that I would assume that that's going to be something developed in a solo Godzilla movie, because that seems more like a Godzilla thing than a Kong thing to do. Like that seems like more of a plot of a Godzilla movie. Another thing I've heard is if there are people praying to this god down there, is Gia going to be in this weird situation where now she meets her own kind, much like Kong, much like the moral dilemma with Kong, where Kong meets this member of a very similar species to him, and yet at the same time, they're at conflict with each other. And Kong, the guy who's wanted a family his whole life, is now having to fight this other member of his species. Is Gia this person who has had her whole family wiped out, had her whole entire people wiped out? is she about to be put in a position where she meets more members of her people, but they're bad. They're bad people, and she can't interact with them. Wait, if there's a 5-year time skip, how are they going to handle Gia? People grow a lot in 5 years, especially people her age. I think you're forgetting Kaylee does not look literally anything like what she did in Godzilla vs. Kong anymore. If you see Kaylee Hoddle nowadays, she doesn't look anything like she did in Godzilla vs. Kong. Godzilla vs. Kong also was shot in 2018. So that's 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. They shoot in 2022. She already did age 5 years. In real life, she aged 5 years between movies. So that makes sense. Kaylee can still play Gia. That's going to be fine. But I think it's going to be this really interesting moral dilemma where Gia meets members of her people, and they're not the nice, friendly people that she knew. They're these horrible people who worship this horrible god. And I think we're going to have this moment where Kong meets this member of his species, and it's not this nice, benevolent guy. It's this horrible, monstrous abomination, maybe cannibal monster that Kong has to go up against. That's a great dilemma. And that leads into the final theory. What if this movie, playing upon the moral dilemma theory, is about what it means to be in a family? What if Kong has to kill this member of his similar species? And I do think Kong will be the one to do it because it makes sense thematically. What if Kong has to kill this member of his own species, and in doing so, he learns that that bond is thicker than blood, and that humanity, and that family is the family forged rather than the family you were born with, and that humanity has been his family the whole time. The Iwi of the original Skull Island. Maybe the new Iwi, following the defeat of the new Kong, start to worship King Kong and become better people as a result of it. And maybe Gia is considered his family. Maybe, I mean, she already is, but maybe Kong will finally see it that way and realize Gia is his family. And to some degree, maybe even potentially Godzilla, the guy who he will now have teamed up with twice, he'll realize this guy could also be part of a big extended family. I think that's a little too far, but overall, I think Kong and this bond with humanity, that Iwi, Gia, Eileen Andrews, Monarch, that's going to be what family he learns to accept, and Gia is going to do the same thing. I think the two of them are going to have a paralleled story arc in the movie, and that theory was originally pitched by JT is Reborn, and I loved that theory, so I wanted to discuss it. Yes, I agree, Godzilla 154. I actually do think that's the reason why they did the time skip. I think the reason they did the time skip in the movies is because there has been 5 years between films in real life, too. Not in terms of when we've watched them, but in terms of when they were made. It's actually been more than that. 2018 to 2024, it's been more than 5 years since they made that movie. What do you think the role of Godzilla will be? I think Godzilla is going to be up on the surface. I think he's going to be just doing his standard patrols as the king of the monsters. And I think New Kong, the Predator, is going to start sending titans up to the surface that are causing havoc. And Godzilla is going to have to fight those titans and eventually be like, who's doing this? And go into the Hollow Earth to find him. I also would expect, based on the teaser, based on Adam Wingard saying he wants the movie to develop the Hollow Earth, I expect that we're going to see some city battles early in the movie, but that the final fight of the film will take place within the Hollow Earth. It'll be a brand new location to do a big final battle. And then maybe they could even use the gravity inversion to their benefit here. Have the two Kongs swinging around, fighting through the gravity inversion. Could be an interesting way to neutralize Godzilla's atomic breath too, where you do a Planet Eater style thing where Godzilla shoots his beam into the gravity inversion and it totally bends and warps in the wrong direction and he can't hit his targets because they're all moving through the gravity inversion. That would be freaking awesome. There's also the possibility that Godzilla will butt heads with Kong again if he does so if he does side with the Predator Kong initially. Yeah, that's another thing that I think could be interesting, is this moral dilemma that you put Kong in, where he doesn't know if he should side with Godzilla or this guy who he's learning is not the best guy. I think it could be really, really interesting. Unfortunately, I do have to go here, so I'm going to say put your final thoughts and theories here. I have 5 minutes to read your final thoughts and theories, and then I've got to take off. Oh my god, that would be insane. Why didn't I think of that? Well, I'm glad you guys like my theories, because I think my theories are really fun, and I hope to see some of them in the movie. I'll do a 15 things video like always, and I'll try and incorporate a lot of these theories, because I think there's good stuff that could happen. Do you think the Kong will attain some power do you think our Kong will attain some power this new Kong has? Only if he has lightning fists. If the Predator has lightning fists, then I think Kong's going to have lightning fists by the end of the movie as well. Goated Theories, thank you very much. I think you said your name earlier was pronounced Gojira Chavez, so thank you very much. Old Kong is hungry, that's why he's so thin. That's another theory. Maybe the hungry refers to the fact that he's so thin and he's emaciated. And he's like, man, I've eaten almost every monster the Hollow Earth has to offer me. I need a bigger snack. I miss my Godzillas that I used to eat. I want to eat another Godzilla. Or I want to eat another Kong. Maybe he wants to eat Kong. Cannibal Kong has a pet Doug, 100%. I think he's going to have a pet Skullcrawler. I don't think he's going to have a pet Doug. Kong should have a pet Doug. Kong would be a better Doug owner than the new Kong. Kong with lightning fists would be awesome. I've been saying it for years, and people say that's unrealistic. Behemoth goddamn is fireproof in the novelization for Godzilla vs. Kong, or for King of the Monsters. Godzilla can shoot a big beam. There's a Mecha Godzilla. Lightning fist is just an extension of static electricity. You could just do that. Or the axe can harness electricity, like Thor. And Kong can't, but the axe can. Still works. Final thought, what if this new Kong's army consists of Skullcrawlers and Mutos, giving Godzilla and Kong a reason to go after him right off the bat? So that's another thing I wanted to talk about. Is I've talked about in my other videos how the new Kong, I think he's going to be in control of other Titans. What if he has Mutos and Skullcrawlers on his side? Because I think it would be really interesting to see Godzilla have to take on Skullcrawlers and Kong have to take on Mutos as a result of Godzilla is originally being attacked by Mutos and isn't able to keep up with it. Kong is originally being attacked by Skullcrawlers and is not able to keep up with it. These two parasites are designed to kill their targets. But if you just flip their targets, now Godzilla is going to have a way easier time dealing with Skullcrawlers. I don't think that'd be a big issue for Godzilla. And Kong, I don't think the Mutos are as big of an issue for Kong, who can outmaneuver them. That's really the only reason the Mutos do anything to Godzilla, is because they can outmaneuver him. Kong can outmaneuver a Muto, so I think he's going to have way less problems with them. Godzilla blowing a hole into the center of the earth. Perfectly fine. Lightning fists. No, that's too far. That's how Godzilla fans have always been. I've always been pointing out, like, Godzilla used to turn himself into magnets. But for some reason, and I'm talking strictly Showa era, Godzilla turns himself into a magnet in the Showa era and can fly, but for some reason fans to this day say King Kong vs. Godzilla is too unrealistic because Kong has lightning fists, and I've never understood it. The Mutos ain't axe proof. That axe would slice and dice through the Mutos and it would be amazing. Alright, I get Caesar and Koba vibes from Planet of the Apes. Yeah, Gamer Ghost, that is exactly what I'm hoping for. I want to see the Koba to our King Kong's Caesar. And that is what I'm hoping for in this new movie. And I'll end the video here. That's what I would love to see, is a conflict on the level of Caesar and Koba, but with Kong and this new Kong, and then Godzilla's in the mix. Perfect movie right there. All right. Thank you guys all for tuning in. I'll probably do more discussion videos about Godzilla X Kong as the summer kicks in, but I am so busy right now, and this next week is going to be a really hard one for me to even participate on the channel at all. It's about to be my finals. I have finals actually weeks before graduation this year, which doesn't make sense to me. Like, I have school after finals this year, which is strange. But next week is my big finals, so I don't know how much content I'm going to be able to put out, which is why I'm going so extra hard this week and doing, I don't know how many videos I've done this week, but too many. And it's because I know next week's going to be really difficult for me. So thank you guys all for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Godzilla Fam 2054, thank you very much for the super celebration. I like these things. I haven't seen them before, but I really appreciate it. Love your videos, D-Man. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much, man. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for the nice wishes here. I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys all have a fantastic week. I hope you guys all are kicking butt and having a good time. And I will be here as soon as I can be to celebrate all of this stuff that I'm excited about with you guys. And I'm also going to start doing news videos again that are back a year ago. So we're still going to be doing those just like normal. Maybe not this week, but definitely next week. Thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man, out.